Yeah.
While I was in basic, Mother wrote and said that they'd called,
Yeah.
it's gonna take me. Never regretted it, because I loved it in there.
Now, Whitey, what about you? What branch were you in?
I was in the Air Force Reserves. Basic training,
Uh-huh.
I think everybody ought to have to go through it.
Yeah.
You know the funny thing about here? Whitey and I went to school together
Oh,
in
really?
Salem High School.
Uh-huh.
And Don Morris's dad was my teacher in the country school, the finest teacher that ever lived.
Right.
I only had 4 weeks of basic training and then 10 weeks of air police school.
So that,
I'll tell you, I would recommend service to anybody. It matures you, teaches responsibility, and you grow up fast.
yeah.
Probably 4 years my best time.
We got called up for active duty
Yeah.
during the Cuban crisis.
I was up at Fairchild at that time, during the Cuban Missile.
So were you guys on alert then?
Oh, you bet, you bet.
So we fought a lot of
We
planes.
went to DEFCON 2, but
Through the
I was,
course.
had assigned a certain engine on the C-124 aircraft.
The-
I fell from #1 engine.
Uh-huh.
We'd pull an inspection that's going over to Korea, I was doing the 4 Ring War.
Uh-huh.
And with a load. And it went up for test flight after we had pulled major on it. And had come back with that #1 engine feather.
Uh-huh.
And so we had to find out the cause. So the guy on #1 engine left the crossover tube seal on the rocker arm cover. And it's leaking all over the top of this fuselage
Yeah.
engine. And nobody told me. We got that fixed. Of course, you had to, something like that, you automatic have to put a new carburetor air filter screen in.
Sure.
And did that, so I got up, nobody told me, but I got up with a bucket of solvent. And they was the real thick stuff, heavy buckets,
Uh-huh.
Anyway, I was up there mopping the top of that off with gunk.
Yeah.
And my feet got in that gunk and I went
Slipped
all
off
the way,
of it?
all the way down the wing and went down to #1. At the engine there was higher engine in it.
Huh?
And fell and busted this wrist up, see.
Really?
That's as far as I can go with that.
He was in charge of a certain aircraft, had the serial numbers, and everything, and that was assigned to that aircraft. And you had to, if your aircraft was up for flight, you had to taxi it out on not the takeoff, but the runway, and pull your flight instructions. That's about the only training I got.
when I sweated more than anything else, the last year I was in there, I pulled security, worked on the Atlas Intercontinental Ballistic Missile System. Anyway, when the crew's gonna go practice, going through the procedures, firing,
Yeah.
the nuclear warhead had to come off. And my job was to escort that nuclear warhead back to the base.
What do they call us? 90-day wonders or something like that. And then they start hollering 90-day wonders, and then, what was it they said? When we went through the Chow Line Rainbow, you hear him call it, chant out rainbows, here comes the rainbows. Of course, actually, we didn't have our uniforms.
I served under 3 presidents. I was Eisenhower when I went in,
Mhm.
and then John F. Kennedy, then he got assassinated, and then LBJ. Well, at that time, Sonia was going, she was from Pullman, Washington, it was 80 miles away, but she was going to stay at the YWCA and going to take the beauty school. She was going to be a beautician, and she was staying at the YWCA. And like I said, when Sonia came down those stairs, and I was looking at her dress, and she had big pockets here on her dress. I didn't like that. She had the puffy sleeves on the side. I didn't like that. But everything else was gorgeous. It was gorgeous. And thing though it is, being a nice guy, hey Don, can you give me a ride down the thing and then drop me off here? And so I was an hour late on our first date. And Sonia was fuming, in fact. She's whether she's even gonna go with me or not. But she did.
I went in the Navy in 11 days out of high school in 1965. I got out in 1969,
69.
and then I went back in 1979. Actually, it was the early 1980s, and got out in 1983. Well, I was already got a place. I was going to Eastern Michigan University
Okay.
for pre-dental school.
Yeah.
And my folks had it all arranged and everything, pretty much.
Yeah.
Not totally firm, but then the Navy recruiter came to school, and he
Okay.
talked to me, and he said, "What's your plans?" I told him. He said, "Did you ever hear of a dental technician?" I said, "No." He said, "The Navy has a really good dental technician program.
Huh.
They'll send you to school. You can work as a dental technician. You can get your experience, see what it's like, and you can get out and go to the school with the GI Bill." I said, "Okay," so I signed up.
Oh, yeah.
I went in and actually I was drafted into the Army. I thought I was going to the Army.
Yeah.
And my older brother, he was a National Guardist, my dad was all, "You got to join the Guards, you got to join the Guards."
Yeah.
You know, Vietnam War's going on, you know. It was, well, in 70,
Oh, okay.
71 is when I went in.
Okay.
I went in February. I was still in high school. I
Okay.
went in with a friend of mine, Paul Humphrey.
Yeah.
We went in on the buddy plan. You go in with someone you know,
Yeah.
and we went in February. And we went to Columbus, February.
Yeah.
We were still seniors in high school.
Huh.
And thinking, you know, hey, as soon as we're out of high school, we're gone. We're going to boot camp.
Yeah.
And Paul was with me for 2 weeks. I wake up one morning and this guy's gone. Well, I went through boot camp. I saw Paul Humphrey 2 years later in Atlanta, Georgia, in an airport, going to a plane.
Yeah.
Oh, what the heck? Where the heck have you been? Because he got sick.
Oh, I had a friend who says, "Let's just go down here and talk to these guys." And we went, and she says, "I'm going to do it," because she didn't have a very good home life, and for her,
It'd be
this
perfect.
was going to be great. So I said, "Okay," and I'm always been a one to I just do it. I never stop and think about anything. I just do it. So I went with her. She ended up getting pregnant and never even made it, and I was stuck. I had to go.
So, what,
I was a dental technician. I worked on the ship, and we was in Vietnam, and I also worked in Norfolk, Virginia at the Naval Dental Clinic. And then later on, I worked on independent duty with a dental officer, and that was just me and him at Newport News Shipbuilding and Dry Dock. And we would work on crews of submarines that would come in for 6 months and out, and we'd do all their dental work. It was real good duty, just me and the doc.
yeah.
After boot camp, I was going to training in Pensacola, Florida for communications.
Yeah.
And while I was toward the end of the boot camp, I called my folks. The field I was going into, I guess they have an FBI investigation of you for top secret clearance.
Yeah.
Because what I went into was in the communication field was we supplied materials that ships talk to each other. And my service for almost 4 years was in a concrete building surrounded by barbed wire fencing and Marine guards.
Really?
And
Did you
The
guys?
buddy never made it.
She never
I
made
had
it?
to go by myself.
Oh, now you-
She got pregnant in between the time of us signing up and having to leave. We were like the third platoon of women to be on Fort Leonard Wood.
Oh, really?
And
Yep.
so, there was only 2 other platoons of women
So
on
this is,
Fort
you said
Leonard
this is
Wood.
what, 78?
78. Our drill sergeant was like a father. And so after you've been there for a couple of weeks and you get your first liberty where you get to have the Sunday afternoon to go out and do whatever, he let all the guys go. And he wouldn't let us females go. He marched us down to a place they called Phone City, and that's where you could go down, make calls and pay for it. So we got to call home and we got to go to the PX for the first time and like buy a Coke and a candy bar, which we hadn't had in a couple of weeks. And then he marched us back and we didn't get to go out and run wild for the afternoon like the guys did.
Yeah.
And it took another week or two before that happened.
I went to the Philippines, to Hong Kong, Japan, Taiwan.
I was on Newport News for 2 hours in the Gulf of Tonkin, and we flew from Subic Bay in the Philippines on a helicopter, and you just see water everywhere I went. I flew. I was never on a ship other than we went in, gun turret blew up. We went in, removed the radio equipment, replaced everything, and then flew back out.
But see, the second time I was in, I was a signalman, and
Oh, really?
they don't even have those anymore.
See, I met my ex-husband. I met him. He was one of the medevac crews
Oh, yeah?
that I met on summer camp.
Yeah.
And so I was an Army wife after that for 10 years. And, you know, I still keep in touch with a lot of
Yeah.
people that, you
Gotcha.
know, we met over the years.
Oh yeah, we went into I always call it the bank vault because it had a door like a bank vault. I mean, it was huge,
Yeah.
and all this material, it isn't open for anyone unless you have the security clearance to
Yeah.
get in and work it. Well, we worked it, but that's what we communicated with. Our ships communicated. Now this was with the Navy. I don't know about the other branches, but this was with the Navy, and this was every ship at sea. You use the materials to talk back and forth to the ships.
And
And
we're
if something's
constantly
compromised,
changing that,
you know,
right?
we get call on a Saturday morning to report, and we go report, and the next thing for the next 2 weeks, we're filling every ship that's in our detachment, in our area, would come in just like, I was in Norfolk, Virginia for almost 2 years. And every ship that was in that area would come, that's where they would come to get their information, and that was changed monthly. But if something happened, that something got compromised, then we would get called in immediately. Like one weekend that I know that we went in, and you know, we're constantly working the material, getting ready for each ship.
Sure.
And when the ensigns come in, that's who usually came in to get the materials, and with their bodyguards. They would come in and we would get each ship, they come in by ship's name, and we would issue the materials. It means the camaraderie of everyone that you worked with. I mean, from boot camp on up through,
Yeah.
you just have certain guys that you click with.
You know, it just opened up the whole world to you.
Yeah.
As far as you kind of realize that everybody's the same. It doesn't matter where they come from. Everybody's the
challenges.
same.
Yeah.
When I got to go to Adak, Alaska, that's on the Aleutian Islands, and I got to go there and visit the place where my dad was at in World War II. He was a rifleman, and they had an outpost place there where he was at one time in his Navy service. So that was one of the neatest things I got to do.